Hello, Hayes. I have the opposite friendship problem of almost everybody I know. I have too many friends. I'm at the point where I call a different person on my lunch break every day for 2 weeks and then have to cycle back through. I find it exhausting. It takes my energy away from the friendships I do want to nurture, and I start to resent these dozen or so other people who, for the most part, were important to me at one point in my life and have done nothing wrong. I think some of them continue to reach out and consider me a good friend because they don't have a lot of their own. This adds to my guilt over pulling away. At least 3 times since I moved to my new state, I've had an old friend sit me down or send a multi-paragraph text message to say I haven't been putting in enough effort. I try to explain my limits, that I don't love texting, and I'm stretched thin when I'm home for the holidays. I also try to apologize and find other ways to connect with them. This tends to smooth over the issue, but still leaves me feeling burned out and overextended. I'd love advice on setting better boundaries and processing guilt when I can't be the support system someone needs. Yours, Too Many Friends. I think you've hit the nail on the head that part of the issue here is you are thinking about them more than you are thinking about you. And what's so tricky about problems like these, when you've overextended yourself and you're good friends to a lot of people and people lean on you and they want to be your friend and you've said yes, 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 out of sort of the goodness of your heart. It's hard because how are you supposed to unwind those friendships? The whole idea about unwinding friendships, setting boundaries in friendships about how available you are, is really complicated. And it's a hard thing to give advice on. It's a hard thing to talk about because I don't know if there's one blanket set of rules that applies to every situation. Ideally, my ideal type of friendship is when these things never need to go addressed. But that's probably because having to confront this specific type of misalignment is so uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to have to say to somebody, I can't be there for you in the way you want me to, or I don't see you the way you see me. We do it with dating, obviously. And I know people say, well, shouldn't we do that with friendship too? And I don't know. And I maybe haven't thought about it hard enough or tried to articulate it well enough why I don't think that. Maybe we'll get to it at some point in this conversation. But it's like if you can skip over that in a friendship and just read between the lines, it's easier. But I know that not everybody wants to read between the lines. Not everybody can read in between the lines. So even suggesting that you have to read in between the lines, I know is not a very direct way of communicating. And it's clearly not helping you solve your problem. I think it's funny you say that this is the opposite problem of so many people you know. I hear this problem so often. Do I hear it so often? What do I mean by that? I hear this a similar issue. Not necessarily I have so many friends, I don't know what to do with them, but how do I make time for the relationships that really matter to me when there are a lot of relationships that frankly matter to me less, but I still am pulled to them in some way, and I'm burned out by all of my social responsibilities. I'm burned out by all of the people that I'm trying to be friends with. I think it's a fairly common problem. And we're going to try to figure out how to get to the bottom of what to do about it. I think it's really smart that you're thinking about addressing it and that you're noticing how it's taking you away from the people that you really want to be spending time with. And maybe it's worth doubling down on that a little bit. You are taking notice of what you want your relationships to feel like. I think I ended up accidentally not reading it from the letter, but this person just turned 30 years old. Additional piece of context. Sometimes I cut a sentence from the top, and I think sometimes people write I love your advice, and they say something really nice as the first sentence of the email, and I cut that because it's special to me, but you all don't need to hear that when I read a podcast. And I think I accidentally cut I'm 30. But I was going to say, that is a natural thing to be doing at 30 years old, reevaluating your life and the people that you're spending time with. And I think we know that we hit points in our life where we're going to reevaluate, but we expect that, but we don't expect or want to have to do anything about it. But after a reevaluation, usually comes a moment where we have to decide if we're going to take an action. And sometimes we just skip the action, even though we know we should do it, We're like, that action sounds really hard. So I'm going to skip it. I'm going to hope this just goes away. And maybe you've been doing that a little while with these friends, and maybe that's fine to do. Like sometimes we don't always need to take an action. But I feel like what you're noticing is that you're ready to take an action. This is such a hard topic to talk about because I think we all feel so emotionally about whatever side we feel like we resonate with most. So I think where I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I both don't feel pressure to give myself to people. I don't feel much pressure to give myself to everybody in my life. I do feel guilty about that sometimes. Like I feel guilty about the fact that I don't pressure myself to be available to everyone and be trying to maintain every single friendship with the same amount of intensity or commitment. So I don't pressure myself to do it, but I do feel guilty about not doing it sometimes. I probably relate more to you than I relate to the idea of like being a friend who's being neglected. So that's where I'm coming to this conversation from, but I want to acknowledge that I know some people are going to be listening as the friend who feels neglected. And they're very different sides of the conversation, but maybe what we can all agree on is that we want to be friends with people who aren't like keeping secrets from us, who like aren't thinking about us aren't dreading talking to us. Like how awful does that feel? I would be horrified if I knew that every time I texted a friend of mine, they were like, my God, Hayes again? Like I just fucking talked to her last week. We all deserve to be in friendships that are sort of effortless. And I don't mean that feel effortless. Effortless is an interesting word I just used. I think all friendships require effort and they require commitment and they require like you and I are doing this thing together and we're going to be friends. And that looks like us being there for each other and reaching out and making each other feel good in the specific ways that we each like to feel good, doing things we like together. Effortless though, in the way where for the most part, I don't think, and unless there's like a specific issue that came up that you two are dealing with, maybe you had an argument or something, you're dealing with conflict. Effortless where like you don't see their name pop up on your phone and you're like, man, this is going to take a lot out of me. I don't strive for my friendships. I don't want friendships like that personally. Maybe some of you do. I shouldn't generalize about what we all want in friendship. But it sounds like you, letter writer, want these fewer meaningful friendships. You want those to take the priority in your life and to take up the most space in your life. You want to have some of your lunch breaks free. And these other friends, these dozen or so other people who, you've gone way, way, way back with, you still want to consider them friends, perhaps. You still want to catch up with them, maybe. If it works out to see each other, great. But you don't want them to be a thing that you're checking off a checklist. And I doubt they want to feel like that either. It's really hard to be a good friend to somebody who you don't really want to be a good friends to. That is when we ourselves, I think, start to trickle into like bad friend territory. Because what is a good friend, I don't think, is somebody who just goes through the motions and checks off boxes of being a good friend. I think like good friend is more than what you do. It's like how you feel about each other. And maybe it'll help you to reframe like what you're doing here. What you're doing isn't really being a good friend. What you're doing is you're trying to avoid a problem. So maybe you're being a little avoidant, which I totally can relate to. You are trying to be a good person by being supportive when you think that they don't have anybody else to go to, which I think is a valid and important thing to do. But I'm not sure if you're being like a good friend, because a friend is a feeling between two people and you might not have that. So I say that not to blame you or like make you feel bad, but maybe I think pulling back in some way, maybe by being honest with these people, is actually what being a good friend is. Because it's not a good friends to be, it's not good friends to be feeling as bad about this as you are, to be harboring all these secrets and how you feel about them. Though as another caveat, it's normal to feel annoyed at your friends sometimes. It's normal to need space from people sometimes. It's normal to have ebbs and flows with friends. That's all normal. I don't think that's what you're talking about here. You're talking about repeated exhaustion and wanting to cut down on the amount of people who come to you and who you feel like you must be reaching out to on a regular basis. The thing about these people that you're kind of referring to wanting to pull away from, not having a lot of people, it's really hard. I understand why you feel guilty. And I think we do have a problem with like abandoning people or ditching people who have nobody and not offering them a lifeline or like a tool to help themselves. It doesn't mean that you need to solve every problem, though. You can't be a good friend when you're trying to solve every single one of another person's problems. And that's an exaggeration. I don't think that you're doing that. Let's look at what you've said when the friend has sat you down to say you're not putting in enough effort. I think, one, let's affirm you first. I think it's great that you say you don't love texting and that you're stretched thin when you're home for the holidays. Being stretched thin home for the holidays, I really relate to that. I do struggle with that a lot. Back when I was going home to Boston for a holiday, lots of my high school friends are from Boston. Lots of people I really love and care about and do want to see are from Boston. But everything's very spread out. And when I'm in town for 3 days, it's hard. It's hard to prioritize seeing your mom, seeing your siblings, seeing your dog, and then driving all over to see all of these friends. So I do relate to that a lot. And I know with the holidays coming up, that's got to be top of mind for people. So I think acknowledging that I'm stretched thin, I love you, I wish I could see you, it's not going to work this time, I think is a great direct thing to say, even though it's a bummer. I think the apologizing and finding other ways to connect with them, I think that is something you do with people who you can commit to like wanting to be friends with. Maybe where you're getting into trouble is that you're doing this with people who you don't really care to be friends with. You just don't want to. It sounds like you care more about not having like a big problem and a big blow up and like being nice. You care more about that than you care about being their friend, which makes a lot of sense. I would want to avoid those things too. And I also care about being a good friend and being perceived as a good friend, though maybe not as much. I probably lean more towards I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I need to do it. I probably lean a little more towards that end of the spectrum. I think that you've been considering other people more than yourself, and it's because you have a good heart, but it's making you actually not be the friend that you are. So I really want you to see that like these actions you've been taking to be a good friend are actually stopping you from being the friend you want to be. I think the friend you want to be is compassionate and direct. And I understand the need to want to smooth over an issue. But if someone's telling you you're not putting in enough effort in this relationship and you're thinking, yes, I am, for the type of relationship we have, yes, I absolutely am. That is, oh my God, it's so awkward. And I'm like thinking, what do you even do about that? I think you do have to say something. I think that has to be a moment of directness. And I do think you risk maybe the friendship ending. You risk hurting the person's feelings, and you risk them being so hurt and maybe so embarrassed that they don't want to be your friend. And I think that is sometimes what happens in friendships, and that is really hard to stomach, hard to get through. If you're a person with empathy and you care for this person, you have history, and if you had it your way, you would still be in each other's lives in some capacity. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, and you can't avoid that, but we can't avoid hurt. I think sometimes we like try so hard to avoid hurting people that we end up like creating more hurt. I don't think you can avoid hurt here. But it sounds like what you've been doing isn't working. It's not working for those dozen friends who feel slighted by you, and it's not working for you because you feel burned out and overextended. God, so what could you say? Bless you, Ryan. I don't know if you guys could hear him just sneeze in the background there. So if someone said to me, Hayes, I'm feeling like really sad since you moved to California, and I'm sure I have people who think this about me. I'm feeling really sad that you've moved. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but there are people who I love who I don't talk to as much now that I live in California. So We'll see if I get any messages after this. Hayes, I have been feeling really sad since you moved to California that we don't talk as much, and I feel like I'm putting in more effort into this friendship than you are. If someone said that to me and if it was somebody who I felt that was true, I felt, you're right, I'm not putting in the same amount of effort, and that's my bad. Like I might have my very legit reasons, but I want to fix them. I would say, thank you for telling me. I'm really sorry. You're absolutely right, and I'm going to be better. And then I would try to be better. However, that was easy. I just totally took the easy way out there by starting with the easy one. What if I didn't feel that way? For the record, I might do exactly what you fucking did. I probably would do exactly what you fucking did at first. And then if it didn't work, I would maybe find myself in a position where I needed to be more direct, or I would just stop responding, which is not a great thing to do either. But I want to acknowledge human flaw here and how hard this all is. So I'm not advising you or thinking about this I'm not looking down on you from my pedestal. I would have a lot of trouble with this too. But if we're thinking about it through our best selves, I might say, I understand, and I'm really sorry that my lack of effort. I'm really sorry that I understand what you're saying and how you feel, and I'm really sorry. Period. I know things have changed, and because I don't want it to sound like we're breaking up, It's I don't think this needs to be a breakup conversation, but it does need to be I know things have changed, but my life has changed a lot, and I know your life has changed a lot, and I'm just not able to be the same friend I was then now. The context of life has changed a little bit, and I still care about you and I still love you, but I'm not available in the way that I was then. I might say something like that. I think this idea of availability is sort of a nice way of saying it. And it is true. It's not a lie. It's not trying to be so nice that you're not telling the truth. It's just I'm not available to be calling all the time. I'm not available for that type of friendship. And then if they ask again, well, what does that mean you're not available? I would say I'm putting in most of my time to my work and to my dog and to some of my relationships here, and I'm doing my best. I do want to stay in touch with you, but I can see that the level I'm giving, which is what I'm able to give right now, I can see that that's hurting you, and I really don't want to hurt you, and I'm sorry for that, but I can't do more than I'm doing. Maybe something like that. And it will be painful. Probably. It will probably be painful if the person you are friends with is the type of person to send you a multi-text, a multi-paragraph thing about how you're not putting in enough effort. Though I shouldn't bucket that type of person. I definitely have a reaction to that. I definitely have a biased reaction to that, and I should take a step back and because I do know what that feels like to notice a shift in someone. It really is hurtful when you notice a shift in someone and they're not being honest with you about what's happening. I think maybe where I feel frustrated sometimes is even when I've been on the other side of when I've been the hurt person, I never played dumb. And I don't know if people are playing dumb or if they really don't know, but I think it can be frustrating on both sides when it's how the fuck, why are you making me spell this out? We could have, here I go with we could avoid. That's the avoidant in me. It's if we both know that something's happening, can't we talk about this in a way where we're both coming to the conversation with the facts? And maybe that is what they're doing. Maybe coming to you saying you haven't been putting in enough effort is coming to you with facts, but I don't know. I think sometimes I feel probably just personally triggered by those situations when someone makes you say to them that you can't be the type of friend they want you to be. I find that really hard and uncomfortable. And that's probably where my reaction's coming from. It's just that it makes me uncomfortable. Not that a person sending that text is bad or loserish or any of those things. I don't think that's true. It's really just highlighting my own discomfort. I think that also just in general about like having lots of friends, you can't be a good friend to everybody. You can still be a good friend though. I think we like think about this label of like, I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. Like I will say, Hayes, I know that I'm an exceptional friend. I am one of the best friends you could have. I drop anything for my friends. I pick up the phone. I'm there to help. I'm there to read your 2,000 word thing and give you feedback on it that night. I will come to the event alone. I'm a great friend, but I'm not that friend to all of my friends because I can't be. I can't. My energy is finite and I don't want to be that for everyone. I can be pieces of that for anybody who I am friendly with, I will be friendly with. And when I'm with you, I'll be very present and I still will want to spend time with you. But I don't have the capacity to even like entertain really being like the best friend I can be to everyone. And that makes me sad too. Then I even sang that out loud. I'm like, oh my God, does that make people feel bad? Does that make people feel bad who like I'm casually friends with? But that's so self-centered of me too, to think that they're like, out there dreaming of like being better friends with me, Hayes. Maybe they're not thinking about me at all. But I do try to remind myself of that. Like, I am a good friend, even though I am not a good friend to everybody. I try not to be a bad friend to anyone. But even among my good friends or my casual friends, there are periods where I'm less available and where they're less available too. Friendship is a two-way street, with which your more casual friends have pointed out to you. And that's another thing I've been thinking about a lot when like my guilt starts to creep in about like, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while. Like, do they think I'm a bad friend? I try to ask myself, be curious about where the instant self-blame comes from. Like I have a lot of instant self-blame or like instant self-doubt that the problem is me. But like, no, it doesn't mean that I push the blame on them. It's just like, oh no, it's okay. There is no problem. There's no problem. And if they wanted to talk to me, they could call me. And if there was a problem, they could bring it up. And if I felt a problem with it, I could bring it up. And though I've already revealed that I have some triggers about these types of problems being addressed, my God. Or I could just get on the phone and call them or send them a text, say that I'm thinking about them. Anyway, is there anything else in here? Do I say that at the end of every letter? I feel like there's probably some things that I repeat every single week that we could like make into memes if I was funny enough. I think that's it. I'll talk about this a little bit more in the next part, but I am getting over pretty much the worst flu, stomach virus, something that I have probably ever had. It is the sickest I've been in quite a long time. And it's Monday afternoon. It's Monday, 5 p.m. Usually I record on Monday mornings, but I did not wake up. I woke up feeling better. I woke up feeling better this morning, but not immediately better enough to know if I was going to be able to record. And Brian suggested that I just like punt the decision to this afternoon to give myself the extra hours to recover. And I clearly felt recovered enough to do this, but wow, I do feel tired. It's really funny, like illness and like what it really does to your body. Like even when you think you're better, it just like it knocks the wind out of you. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick sip of water and then we'll have a little check-in. Too many friends. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was helpful for you. You're not a bad person and you're going to figure this out. And I understand why you feel exhausted. And I know you want to feel like the good friend you are. And I think that's going to come from saying no, not over apologizing and not over making commitments to people. Don't commit to things and apologize for things you don't feel sorry for. You can feel sorry. You can say you're sorry for hurting somebody, but don't then like try to smooth things over with things that are going to burn you out more. Give yourself like an extra, just pause before you do any of those things. Before you start offering out things to smooth the situation, pause and be like, do I actually want to do that? Is me a week from now going to hate myself for suggesting this? Don't do it. I'm always trying to look out for future me. I think about that regularly. Sometimes you have to check yourself because sometimes future me doesn't want to do it, but I should do it. I should challenge myself to do it. But think about future you before you find other ways to connect with people that maybe you just don't want to connect with. Okay, water break, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, I am so glad to be feeling better. I cannot believe how sick we were. It was like Friday afternoon. Brian has really bad allergies, and every now and then his nose gets stuffed. So when he says that and he also never gets sick. I'm the one in our relationship who gets sick. So when he's stuffy, I don't usually think much about it. Around noon, he had like a little bit of a stuffy nose. I'm like, I always comment on it though. I'm like, you sound stuffed. Are you okay? And I never really think he's sick. I just sort of ask out of habit. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then around 4, he's like, I'm feeling a little funky. And I was like, my neck really hurts, but I'm like always complaining about not feeling well and that I might be sick. And we sort of rolled my eyes at me. Okay. And then around 5:30, we had just driven to go pick up some food. We got out of the car, and like as soon as we walked into the house, Brian, I've never seen him this ill. It was actually quite scary. He like got the full body chills to the extent where his entire mouth was chattering, and he like couldn't speak. He was chattering. We kept putting layers on him and he kept wanting more layers. And he was sitting right next to our electric fireplace. I put on the heat there. He had his hat on and I just kept adding blankets. And I couldn't believe that he kept asking if I could make him warmer. So that was really, really scary. I made him some hot tea. I gave him some Tylenol right away. I took his temperature. It was like 102.6. Scary. And made him eat a few bites of an English muffin. And then I brought him upstairs into our bed, got him in bed. Francis snuggled with him for a few minutes. It's crazy how dogs like must know, because this dog has never once snuggled with us in our entire life. She doesn't sleep in our bed. She still sleeps in her crate, but she likes to sleep on the end of, like she likes to hang out with us at night. She'll sleep on the end of the couch while we're pressed together on the other side. Brian got under the covers and Francis like gently jumped up and went right next to him, like as if it was me snuggling up in his nook. She put her head in his neck and then kind of like flipped over on her back and had her little paws up in the air and then draped her head over his chest. And before I left, I'm like, Brian, do you want me to take her? And he's like, no, it's okay. It's kind of nice. And she stayed up there with him for a full hour until I came back up. Well, I came up actually a few times to check on him. But she slept like that for a full hour until I took her out to pee one more time and put her to bed. It's just dogs are amazing. I swear that she knew. So I get in bed. It's pretty early. It's like 9:00. This should have been a sign that I was ready for bed at 9. Go to bed at 9, and then at like 10:15 I wake up. Stomach cramps, but I'm not really thinking too much about it. Stomach cramps. Go to the bathroom. Have some like real painful shit go down. Pun not intended, but true. I'm on the toilet for like, let's call it 10 minutes. And as soon as I stand up from that painful encounter, same chills happen to me. Same crazy amount of chills. And I like put on clothes and I get under the bed and Brian can hear me chattering. And he's like, I just like feel his hand on my stomach. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And we just hunker down. We both barely sleep. We got up at 6 the next day. And Saturday was pretty much exactly like Friday night. I was so upset because I was doing like a virtual coffee social media brainstorm with somebody I really admire on the internet. Her handle is Critical Grace Theory. She's really funny. She's super smart and comedian and love her takes. You should all follow her. And I was really excited to have that conversation. We had been like talking for a while and she was really kind and we're going to reschedule. But I had to cancel that. And Saturday was just a big fucking bummer. Yesterday, Sunday was a little bit better. And today I'm feeling better. But it just like totally knocked the wind out of me. I mean, Saturday we were so sick we couldn't really walk. Like every time we stood up, it was like you were sort of crushed back down to the couch because your head hurt so much. And by the way, also, it's like a torrential pouring in LA this week, which it never rains. And this week of rain is like record breaking rain, which is not fun when you have a dog. And I would walk my dog in the rain if I wasn't sick, but we were too sick to walk, let alone walk in the rain. And it did make me think a lot about, it made me think a lot about how important it is to have people to help you. And Brian and I are rarely sick at the same time, but it was really hard both being so ill and having like another living thing to care for. And Frances was such a good girl, was so sweet, basically slept the entire time, didn't go on a walk for 2 days. We took her for like a 5-minute walk yesterday on Sunday, but we made it halfway down our block and then I had to rush back because I thought I was going to shit my pants. Oh, she was so good, but I kept thinking like, what if she's like demanding our attention, which would be normal. She's a puppy. What would we do? Brian and I both can barely move and we would just have to figure it out. And maybe we would ask for help. And I was thinking about this because it sort of brought up like a flaw of mine, perhaps, which is that I think I'm actually not that good at asking for help. I'm not that good at asking for help. I'm decently good at asking for help for certain types of things that I don't think are too inconvenient. Like I'm always measuring just how much I'm inconveniencing somebody by asking them to help me. And it's sort of like probably is a bummer because it limits, if I think about how good I feel when I'm able to help somebody I love in the way that they need, by not giving people that opportunity, I'm sort of denying both them the joy of being able to help me and I'm denying me the help I need. Because I had people asking me this weekend that like live around me, or this wouldn't be crazy. I had people asking me like, can I drop off something? Can I do something for you? And I kept saying no because I didn't really need them. I didn't really need anything. Neither of us were eating. I had broth and English muffins and like I had stuff, medicine. I actually didn't have Tylenol and I did ask my neighbor to bring me some Tylenol and she went out and bought me Tylenol and bone broth and was very sweet. But I didn't really need anything. What I really needed was for somebody to walk Frances. And it ended up being fine that she didn't have a walk, but like that would have been really helpful for somebody to, in like one of the brief moments when it stopped raining, or even in the rain, if it didn't have that, like, do you need me to take Frances for a walk? And I had thought about asking that, and then I just felt uncomfortable because I was like, that's so annoying. Who wants to take her for a walk in the rain? It's like pouring fucking rain. And it would be annoying, but it would have been really helpful and I might have really needed it. What I wish is that I could trust myself to like make inconvenient asks when they're appropriate still. Like I know myself well enough and I know my social intelligence enough to know that I'm not asking things that are unwarranted or that are ridiculous. Like I'm not just saying I'm lazy, like I don't feel like it. Can you walk my dog in the rain? I would only ask that in such a situation that I was in. I'm not going to ask my friend who lives in Laurel Canyon to come walk my dog. Laurel Canyon is like an hour away from me. But I could ask my friend who lives 3 minutes away. And she would have said yes. Or she would have said no, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But like I could have asked my neighbor who also has a dog, who's Frances' best friend. And I'm sure she would have said yes. But I just felt uncomfortable. And I think it's a good thing for me to like stretch myself and to practice asking for help when I need it. And I was thinking about like how I was really missing my sister. Like, my sister, I wouldn't have questioned, will you take Frances for a walk? And it was making me think about how hard it must be. Like it was so hard with a dog. Imagine a child who like can't just have sleep on the couch next to you all day. And like you have to make them food. And I did, making Frances food involves scooping her kibble into a bowl. Anyway, I am so glad that we're better. I'm so glad that we're better. It's really weird though when your stomach, like, it's a really weird feeling. The majority, I think we did have like crazy fever for like 36 hours, but the stomach really has been the primary symptom. So my stomach right now is in fucking shambles. My stomach is in shambles. And it's so weird not having like I like not feeling the hunger feeling. I'm like always hungry, I am eating constantly throughout the day. I'm a 3 meals plus like lots of snacks girl. And I just like don't feel my stomach at the moment except for pain when I am heading to the bathroom. And I really hope that tomorrow is a little bit better because it's like my brain really wants food. Like my brain is like really excited about this sandwich. I think I'm going to get like a tuna sandwich from Carla Cafe, which is one of my favorites, or I'm going to order from Giada, another one of my favorites. I'm like really excited mentally for what I want to eat, but my stomach is just like, nah, English muffin with a little bit of jam, bone broth and rice and a little shredded chicken. Yummy, yummy. But then like I can barely even keep that down. I'm having some mint tea and that's kind of nice. The only other thing I wanted to I might regret saying this, which isn't the best idea when I'm recording a podcast at 5 o'clock and am not gonna really cut anything out. I had like a come to Jesus, or I'm like in the process of really thinking about what I want to do with my social media, which I really haven't done that since I first started. And I was really excited about making my Hello Hayes advice column TikToks. Like I haven't actually had a moment with myself where I'm like, bitch, what do you want to do? What are you actually excited about doing? Since that happened. And I've sort of been avoiding I've been avoiding it for like 2 years for lots of good reasons, but I've been avoiding it. And I am finally feeling like excited about making these tools work for me. And I think part of what's making me feel excited is I feel like in a really good rhythm with the podcast. I'm in a really good place with my writing project. And I'm in a good place with I should start with that third thing, which is I'm in a good place with myself and my creativity and my like trauma and grief processing that I've been doing in therapy over the last couple of years. And I'm just like I'm feeling good and I'm feeling ready to engage with these like platforms that can be really turbulent and like messy for a person who's struggling. I'm just like excited. And I had a great brainstorm with my friend Stephanie to like talk about what I want to do with this moment and like how I want to kind of reintroduce myself. And one of the things I realized is that like I hadn't really, all of my platforms were still like, Hello Hayes, Hello Hayes, Hello Hayes. But let's all be honest. I make Hello Hayes on this podcast. Hello Hayes is a podcast, I make the advice column on my podcast. I don't make the advice column I promote the advice column on those other places, but I don't make them there. And I think I was like kind of avoiding that fact for a long time. And I still feel really uncomfortable by that, but it is the reality. And I can only like move to the next chapter by acknowledging that and talking about what else I'm excited to do. So, and I love making Hello Hayes here. And there still might be a day where I write it again. I have like a list. I have a great letter that I highlighted that I got a couple of weeks ago about how to put your work out online and how to find your voice and I got this beautiful, beautiful letter about the work I do here. And I think the creative work that I imagine a lot of you want to do, not that all of you want to make videos and be online, but I believe that a lot of you who listen to this podcast have something to say, have some creative ambitions for yourself, have hobbies that you want to give more of yourself to. And I read this letter and I'm like, I want to write an answer to this one. This one feels like writing. So it still is there and I might get to it. But I just wanted to also say that, as I just said all those other things, clarify. I love making the podcast this way. But I talked with my friend Stephanie about like some of the new framing, some new ways that I could sort of frame why a person, for example, might like follow me on social media. If they're not going to get the advice column on this platform, why else might you follow me? And I've got lots of ideas for the different types of videos that I want to experiment with, which I'm going to have to learn. It's like just like I learned how to make advice column videos. I wasn't like born knowing how to edit those and make them. I learned. I'm going to have to do that again and get good at other types of things. It's helpful to have like almost like a bio. It's been helpful for me to think about it as like, what's my bio going to be? But more than that, it's a helpful like framing for what I do. And as I think about ideas, like give me a container to think about them through. So I have all these little taglines, and I'll read you some of them right now. I'd be curious if any of them resonate with you, or if you have any ideas. If you have things that, outside of making an advice column, if there are things or topics that you associate with me, I hope this isn't too self-interested. Fuck it. It's okay if it's self-interested. I'm allowed to ask for help. I'm allowed to ask for help. Somebody left such a thoughtful comment somewhere recently when I asked you guys to leave 5-star review on my podcast. They were like, Hayes, I want to gently ask you to think about why you don't want to ask us for help when you help us so much. And I thought it was such a nice way to nudge me to be like, it's just a really good question. So I'm going to ask for your help. If you have any ideas or things that you think explain what I do or what I offer or what you like about my work, it would really help me as I do more of this kind of brand exercise. It would help me to hear what you think. So one of them is interpersonal and intrapersonal dynamics. That is not a pithy phrase, but it was just, that came to me as like something that I do and think a lot about. I am a writer exploring what it means to be human. I am exploring the relationships we have with each other and with ourselves. Also, the Hello Hayes podcast. I have, here's a good one. Writer, observing our relationships, our feelings, and our absences. Host of Hello Hayes. I think in our absences, that's not clear enough. I don't know what that means. Sometimes I come up with things and I'm like, I don't even know what that means, girlfriend. Like, make that a little more clear. Make that a little more literal. Oh, here I tried to make it a little more clear. I'm observing relationships, feelings, and the things that remain unsaid. Another one. Writer exploring what it means to be human. Advice, stories, feelings. Host of Hello Hayes. So I feel like I'm entering like a new era where I'm giving myself permission to step outside of the box that I created for myself and that I kept myself kind of locked in. And I've been doing that slowly for a really long time, but I'm like finally ready to acknowledge that to myself and then to the world. It's really scary though to acknowledge that I'm going to do something different because there's always a learning curve. But saying it out loud doesn't like introduce the learning curve. The learning curve is here, whether I acknowledge it or not. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited, and I'm grateful for everybody who listens to the show and has supported Hello Hayes as a voice. I prefer the word voice to brand. That's why I just said it there. Doesn't really imply in that sentence though. But I appreciate all of you for your support and however you've given it to me over the years. Okay, I'm gonna call it a night. Get some rest. Hope tomorrow is even better. And I love you all. I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye.